So for the last couple of days, you've been researching your business leader and coming up with information to include in both your written report as well as in your video. So I'm on Google Classroom on the Business Leader Project assignment stream. And at the top is the Business Leader thing link, which I've already got open. And when you go in here, today we're specifically talking about Purdue Owl. So when you go in here, the Purdue Owl section is right here. There are two tabs. This takes you to the high-level overview of the Writing Lab. This one takes you specifically to the Writing Lab's MLA section. So when I click on that, oh, I already had one open. Let me close that. All right. So when you go into this section, it gives you a high-level overview of the MLA formatting, the style guide itself, and talks about they're now in their 8th edition. But basically, your MLA citations each will contain these 9 items if you have a complete citation. Not all the information is always readily available, but you need to get as much as you can. So there should be an author, a title of the source, a title of the container, any other contributors to the piece, the version, the number, the publisher, the publication date, and the location. So the author is pretty simple. The author is the person who wrote the piece. The title of the source is going to go next. So they give you a couple of different examples. So here they've got one for a book, a website, a periodical, a magazine, a journal, newspaper article, a song or a piece of music, if you happen to be including something like that. The title of the container. So containers are they're pieces where there are larger holes in which the source is located. For example, if you want to cite a poem that is listed in a collection of poems, the individual poem is the source while the larger collection is the container. So when you have that, this is where the container is. So they've got each section, they've got highlighted. It could also be like part of a television series. If it's on a website, so it contains a bunch of articles, postings, or other works, you would use this example. So you can read more about that. If you have other contributors besides just the author, if there are different versions, so here they've got the Bible, so it's the King James Version, and so forth. A number, so if a source is part of a numbered sequence, such as a multi-volume book or journal with both volume and issue numbers, those numbers must be listed in your citation. So they've got 3 examples for you here. The publisher, again, the person who produces the work, and you're going to include the publisher as the examples here are. Publication date, so when did it actually go to print? Or when was it actually published? So they've got the dates here, and then where, so the location. Where within the work did you find the word or phrase or paragraph that you are citing? So in a book, you would include the pages. If it's an online work, you are to include the URL. And if it's like a physical object, like a piece of art or something, you would include the location here. There's some things that are optional. So the date of original publication, the city of publication, date of access. They have some notes here on the URLs, DOIs or digital object identifier. The next section goes into creating in-text citations. So if it's a really short quote that you're including, you would either do it this way or this way. So the first one, it just gives the quote, and then at the end it puts the author and page number, or you can say, in this case, according to the author, and then you put the quote, and at the end you put the page, in this case page 9. In the works cited page, on the works cited page, you would cite it like this. So there is more information. I'm just kind of skimming over this. If you have a question about it, you need to read the section. Everything you need is right here in Purdue Owl. If you have questions beyond that, you can either see Ms. Starner down in the library or myself. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top of the page. So that's the overview of Purdue Owl's MLA section. You can go into some basics. So there's in-text citations and how to do them. So basic and author page style and print sources with an unknown author. What do you do? How do you handle these things? An in-text citation for print sources by a corporate author, by an unknown author, an author page citation for classic and literary works with multiple editions. What happens when you have people with the same last name as authors on 2 different works, or even within the same work? Here we've got, again, multiple authors. Multi-volume works, citing the Bible. I'm not sure you're going to be using that, but just in case. Indirect sources, non-print sources from the internet. How do you do this stuff? Then they've got some miscellaneous, again, the electronics. So you can see what all of these subheadings are. They even give you a section here when a citation is not needed. But that's for your in-text citations. How do you format a quote? Well, they run you through the gamut of these. So they've got short quotes, they've got long quotes. How do you handle it? What do you do when you want to add or omit a couple of words in a quotation? So it goes into that as well. So that was on the formatting quotations. I'm going to skip over the endnotes and footnotes, but I want to go to the works cited page. So basically, the rules are written right here. So you need to revisit this or pause the video here and make sure you read this. There are some additional basic rules that are new as of 2016. So for online sources, you should include a location to show the readers where you found the source. So many scholarly databases use a DOI, a digital object identifier. Use a DOI in your citation if you can. Otherwise, use a URL. So you're fine for me using a URL. Delete the http:// from URLs. This is no longer the way you cite. You just start with the www dot and whatever it goes on into. So the DOI or URL is usually the last element in a citation and should be followed by a period. All works cited entries end with a period. They go into what else is new. They go into capitalization and punctuation, listing authors, more than one work by an author, or a work with no known author. So how do you handle that in the citation page? Then they give you some more specifics if you want to look at them on how do you cite specifically books, periodicals, your journals, your magazines. How do you cite electronic sources? I'm just going to kind of bounce in here real quick. So for all the stuff that you might find online. So there is some information here for you to review and become familiar with. How the heck are you supposed to do this? If you're going to include an image. Okay, so this is really in-depth, and they do a really good job with this, which is why we use it. They also talk about an email, like if you're interviewing somebody, if you happen to be able to get in touch with your business leader and you can do an interview, how do you cite that? Or tweet. Maybe you're following the business leader and they tweet something. Well, how do you cite their tweet? Or you found a YouTube video. How do you cite that? And then they even go into a comment on a website or an article and how to cite that. Okay, so that is the electronic sources. There's some other common sources, other resources, and some abbreviations that you may or may not need to look into how to do that. Down near the bottom middle part or the top bottom section, I don't know how you want to phrase this, but here is the MLA sample works cited page. So they actually give you an example of what one would look like that is done properly. So here it is. Here's each citation is what is called a hanging indent. So the D in Dean would be at 0, and ½ an inch in is where you would set the other part of the hanging indent, and everything falls under that. You let it word wrap. You don't actually hit the enter key. And again, they are all in alphabetical order. Even though Anne is here, Anne is one of these articles. The word is an article, so you like discount it and you go with the I. And so that's how you would, I'm sorry, that is the sample works cited page. They give you an actual paper, which I'll go into here in a second. Notice they have, if you're going to include tables, figures, or examples, PowerPoint presentation, they've got some other stuff down here that I'm not going to go into. But I do want to go into what an MLA formatted research paper should look like. So they've got little hints, pointers, and ideas in these blue and green boxes. And the paper itself obviously is not within. So your name, the course number, and the professor's name and the date of the paper are double spaced in 12-point Times New Roman font. Dates in MLA are written in this order: day, month, year. So you're going to have your name. You're just going to put Mrs. Smith here, business English, and then I haven't given you a date yet, but you will put the date that it is due here. Up here, you're going to put your last name and then a page number, and I can show you how to do page numbers. Maybe tomorrow we'll go into that. The title is here, so it's centered, 12-point Times New Roman. Title is not bold, underlined, or italicized. And then you're going to start writing your paper. Notice you are indenting each paragraph, or the first line of each paragraph, so there is no space, there's no blank line between the paragraphs, because you either format things with an indented paragraph and no space between the paragraphs, or you don't indent and you leave a blank paragraph mark or a blank line between paragraphs. So for MLA, indent it and do not leave a blank line. So again, you should go through this and read some of these blue and green boxes. I'm not anticipating, but maybe you will have some subheadings, some section headings. But I'm going to kind of scroll through this a little fast, but you can go back and read this, and you should read this and refer to it when you're writing your paper. You're probably not going to have any notes. And then your works cited page. So again, when you do the page formatting correct, the page numbering correct, it will automatically change the page number for you. You don't have to do that. But on the works cited page, you're going to have that. You're also going to have works cited centered. Your works cited page always begins on a new page. Center the title works cited without underlining, bolding, or italicizing it. Then you're going to start with your actual citations. So MLA now requires only the publisher and not the city of publication. So just who is the publisher. So again, read these, but this is how your works cited page will look. This one goes on to a second one. So if you have any questions about this, write down your questions and we can discuss them in class tomorrow. Otherwise, have a good day, and if there's time remaining in the class, you need to start researching your paper or continue researching your paper. Make sure you get your Quizlets in before the due date and time. Have a good day.